Chris is going to share his unconventional journey of living as an entrepreneur. In the next 5 to 7 minutes, Christopher will describe how a simple change of mindset and a few key mentors in his life allowed him to turn from dirt poor to being financially successful. Christopher will be sharing how he went from a minimum wage job all the way to starting his own vending machine business, as well as doing full-time day trading in the U.S. stock market before his 20th birthday. No grass growing on his feet. This speech is titled Living a Life of Entrepreneurship. Please join me in welcoming Christopher in his speech, Living a Life of Entrepreneurship.
How would you like to embark on a journey from being dirt poor to financially successful? For the past several years, I've undertaken the arduous and sometimes frustrating path of being an entrepreneur. And some people associate success with a great job or a good career. For being a pharmacist student, the only jobs I can currently land right now are minimum wage jobs. At least I know that once I graduate, there will be shiny cars and beautiful blonde women waiting. 5 years ago, I decided to take the road less often traveled. I ended up meeting a man by the name of Eric through tennis, and we had very much the same goals about how we wanted to achieve our tennis goals. He was a 40-year-old man, and he wanted to play professional tennis. And that kind of drew me more towards him because it reminded me of myself and of my own tennis goals. Because at that time, I was trying to play professional tennis, and I was trying, even if I wasn't going to play professional, I was trying to get on a college tennis team. So as I talked to this man more and more, I began to sort of get more drawn to him, and our friendship grew every day. And one thing led to another, and soon he actually invited me to his home in Sarasota to do tennis training. And I can remember that 2.5-hour drive down to Sarasota, all the way by the Pacific Ocean. And he has a $1 million house by the beach, which was really impressive. And he even had a tennis court on his house. And he invited me over there, and then we started getting on the tennis court. And he told me, what are your goals? And I said, well, Eric, my goals are to play professional tennis. And how do you think that I could get to that level? And he said, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to set a plan as to how you're going to get there. And the second thing you need is that you need to have money. I said, Eric, how am I supposed to have money? Right now I'm dirt poor. And how am I supposed to think like a rich person when I don't have any money myself, because I can't afford to get any tennis lessons? And he said, well, you gotta stop talking like that, because if you want to be rich, you have to change your thoughts, your actions, and your behaviors. So I said, well, how am I supposed to think that way right now, because I can't actually think like I'm rich right now if I'm still poor. And he said, well, you can't be rich if you think that you're poor, so you have to start by thinking that you're rich, and then the money will come. And he says you have to believe it in yourself before it can actually happen. So he really forced me to change my thoughts, actions, and behaviors over time, as well as the way I think about money. And at that time I didn't have any money, and I had a lot of limiting beliefs about myself. And I was even working for a minimum wage at a tennis center for $6 an hour, which was probably the closest thing to being a slave. It wasn't until I began to study the minds of the rich to see how I could really transition myself from being poor to being rich, because a lot of it had to do with the mentality and the ideas that you had about money. And as time went on, I began to grow as a person, and my mind began to shift from being needy around money to having money work for me. I started first by investing in the stock market, and as a beginner, I had some amazing successes, which sparked my excitement about the stock market even more. In one particular trade, I started out with $3,000 in a company called Cell Therapeutics, which was supposed to market a drug for cancer. And that really resonated with me, so I put $3,000 in it, and the same day, 2 hours later, the stock went from 30 cents to almost $1. So my $3,000 turned to $11,000 in the same day. So I was completely ecstatic when that happened. I was jumping up and down. I didn't know what to say, but I was totally excited about it. That pretty much started my journey in the stock market, and after that first trade, I started making many other trades. And like a good gambler, I continued trading more and more because I like to think that the stock market is one of the biggest forms of legalized gambling. Well, luckily for me, I just didn't just trade in the stock market. I also began to establish a vending machine business before my 20th birthday. One of the things about the vending machine business, starting it out, it was the uncertainty that I was going through when I first started the business, because I still didn't have that much money yet. I even had to borrow a $10,000 loan from my broker in order to start buying some vending machines. It started out with just 2 vending machine locations, and then before I knew it, I had 11 different locations across the city of Orlando. And then the third thing that I did was I started to venture into the online universe. I would start to build websites for others, and I started to make money from my own websites through internet marketing. And in 2009, I purchased a website called createasite.com, which is one of the most powerful, in my opinion, domain names in the entire online space. Because when people think about creating websites, they're going to think about my website, createasite.com. Because if I talk to someone at Starbucks, I say, hey, you know, I create websites, and I have this website, my website is called createasite.com, and that's going to give me instant credibility right there. So that was one of my biggest ventures, and I'm still continuing today to continue building my businesses as well as meeting like-minded people that pushes me to achieve even higher goals. And I would not trade my experiences for anything else. Although I wouldn't mind having the time to attend a few extra parties and hang out with a few more girls and go clubbing here and there. But as for now, we'll see what the future holds for me. Thanks, everyone.